Hi, you're watching Hindustan Times. I'm Aditi Prasad. So, the more things change, the more they remain the same. If that proverb holds true for anything right now, it is the new Taliban caretaker government in Afghanistan. There is a sense of deja vu in intelligence and security circles across the world. They are watching with fear, trepidation, uncertainty, and wondering if it's back to Taliban 1.0. So, what are the big signals that we can read so far? Now, first and foremost, and very, very importantly, is that this new Taliban caretaker government has Pakistan's stamp all over it. The last minute edging out of Mullah Abdul Khani Baradar, who had been in negotiation with the international community in Doha in favor of the hardliner Mullah Hassan Akhund, is a dead giveaway of Pakistan's role. Mullah Akhund is the man who ordered the destruction of the Bamia Buddhism statues in 2001 and is the face of the Kandahar based Taliban group. Interestingly, the race and the war within Taliban for power sharing ended barely 3 days after the Pakistan ISI chief landed in Kabul and helped decide government formation. The inclusion of the two Haqqanis in the cabinet, including Sirajuddin Haqqani as interior minister and his uncle Khalil Haqqani, who was named acting minister for refugees, is another giveaway of Pakistan's involvement. As far as New Delhi is concerned, Sirajuddin Haqqani's inclusion is a key signal that Pakistan's ISI has handpicked this cabinet for the Taliban. Now, barely 2 weeks ago, the United States of America claimed that the Taliban and Pakistan based terror organization Haqqani Network are separate entities. Now, when the Taliban announced their new interim government in Afghanistan, they made the Biden administration literally look like fools. Sirajuddin Haqqani, who is on the FBI's most wanted list with a bounty of up to $5 million on his head, has been named the Interior Minister. Now, reportedly, he has been a senior leader of the Taliban since 2016. Haqqani is wanted for questioning in connection with the January 2008 attacks on a hotel in Kabul that killed many, including an American citizen. He is also responsible for the terror attack on the Indian embassy in Kabul in 2008, and several attacks after that against Indians and Indian interests in 2009 and 2010. Especially designated global terrorist with close ties to Al Qaeda, Haqqani now sits pretty in one of the most senior positions in the Afghan state machinery. But that's not all there is to it. Make no mistake, there is nothing moderate or good Taliban or new reformed Taliban about this hardliner lineup as Afghanistan's new caretaker government. Now, at least 17 of the 33 Taliban cabinet ministers on the UN sanctioned list, including their interim prime minister, two deputy PMs, their interior minister, their defense and foreign affairs ministers, they all find a place in the UN sanctions list. Now, take for instance Taj Mir Jawad, the man named as the deputy intelligence chief in the new Taliban setup in Afghanistan. He has been described by security and intelligence officials of several countries as the head of a network of suicide bombers responsible for deadly attacks in Kabul. The Republican Study Committee, which is really the largest conservative caucus in the US House of Representatives, actually sums it up quite succinctly. This morning they said, and I quote, that there is nothing more moderate about the revived Taliban government. This is a government of terrorists, by the terrorists, and for the terrorists. Now, with many of the senior members of the Taliban cabinet facing sanctions by the United Nations, it is more than likely to muddy the waters further for international recognition and diplomacy. And lastly, I want to talk about uh, the assertions, several assertions by Taliban leaders in recent weeks that the proposed setup of the cabinet, the new government, would be inclusive. Now, despite all of that, all the 33 members of the so called caretaker cabinet are members of the Taliban hierarchy or the Haqqani network. Many of them also served in similar capacities in the Taliban regime that ruled in Kabul in the 1990s. Now, that has, of course, raised fears that it is, in fact, going back to the dark days of Taliban 1.0 with no room whatsoever for democracy, for women, human rights, or minorities. Now, the new rulers of the Islamic Emirate have already announced that every aspect of the government will be run as per Sharia law and religion will have topmost priority. Women, who the Taliban actually promised will play a prominent role in the new Afghan society, have been conveniently omitted from this new caretaker government. The minorities, of course, meet a similar fate. It is no surprise, therefore, that many stakeholders and international community watchers are already sort of crying hoarse about how this new Taliban government undercuts all the promises made in the Doha Agreement, and this may just herald a return to the previous Taliban regime or Taliban 1.0, as we are calling it. Thanks for watching this broadcast. We'll keep coming back to you with more updates. Stay tuned to Hindustan Times and don't forget to press the bell icon if you're watching us on YouTube and never miss an update from us.